like heaven with who? Different deity. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, it's such an unthinking way of being angry.
Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, I never raised my own. She's like, well, you're here telling us that we're bad unless we believe in Jesus. Like, Jesus would never say anything like that. Have you read the freaking Bible?
Nope.
You said you'd studied Catholicism for 12 years and you never heard Jesus say, I didn't say that.
Kathleen, a better answer, that's a fine answer, but an even better answer is you can look at them for yourself.
Yeah, learn Greek. It's not that hard.
It's not really. So far anyway. I've been doing okay. I had translation on my quiz on Thursday and it went fine.
Hello. Can I show them what I'm giving Hank?
Yes.
It's a painting I did a while ago. Yeah. Void fish from Taz.
So pretty.
Arms outstretched, hopefully coming on my channel soon.
What's up with that?
What?
Is that just being edited or what's going on?
I'm putting it together. I'm orchestrating it.
Melania told me about it and then I went to your channel and I was like, oh, it's not here.
Yeah, we haven't.
Together.
Go.
Kaylin. There's a car immediately in front of us.
Well, yeah, but it turned green.
Yeah. I'm not watching that, I'm watching the car. I'm not gonna plow through.
I meant the turn. Whatever. It's so cool that I can just tap to zoom. Where are we supposed to park? We don't know.
I'm gonna figure out where it is and then park accordingly. I think, based on what I'm seeing on maps in brief glances, that we'll park in the parking garage that we tend to.
Granola boats.
Did you just emphasize the middle syllable of that word?
Yes.
I'm not sure that's correct.
I'm not sure you're correct.
Well, you got me.
The autofocus on this is pretty loud. Oh yeah. Oh, those mannequins are scary. You're scary. You're scary.
His difficulty with innocent people suffering with the biblical.
Oh my gosh, Brian Jeffrey!
I'm not interested in anything else. I don't listen to their podcasts.
You don't listen to your favorite John? I'm at that point in my life.
so that they could have a place where information could go and you could find it no matter where you were. And then we were like, well, what information should we put there? And someone said, academic publications. And then someone else said, sure, but also cats. Another person said, arguments about Doctor Who. And that is how the internet was formed. What was once a homogenous culture of a certain kind of person became open to other kinds of people. And those first people were like, welcome, here's the kind of people internet people are. Be like that. And the new people were like, actually, no, I can be me on the internet and I will be an internet person. And then the first people said, okay, but go stay on Facebook then. And the people were like, Facebook is the internet though, right? And the nerds said, oh God, what have you wrought? And so different kinds of people had to share the social space of the internet, a space that was in many ways a public commons, except in all of the legal ways in which the internet was an amalgamation of 3 or 4 privately held content licensees. But think of it as a public square, they said, except when it comes to anything to do with actual law. And the people were like, okay. And so human nature extended itself into a space it was not built to exist in, and its culture did not have structures to support. But we learned a great many things. Things about ourselves. Things about people who were different from us. Things about giraffe sex. We looked into the abyss that we had created and said, well, if this is how it ends, at least there were cats. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And now I would like to bring to the stage video blogger, inventor of 2D glasses, and author of the new book, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, Hank Green.
I'm suitably verklempt. Oh, hi. That hasn't happened previously at our show. I honestly think somebody in the front held up a poster and then someone behind was like, I can't see, and they stood up. Require just a small amount of activation energy to keep moving, so I appreciate that. Hello, how are you?
Good.
I heard like 4 people said good, and then
my experience. I'm going to answer your question now, Erica. Okay, thank you for standing up for so long. You can do it all show if you want. Or you can sit, okay. Yeah, you can sit so the people behind you can sit. Okay, thank you. What was the editing process like for your book? So I heard about editing. You know, because I'm friends pretty close with an author. And I heard about this thing called the editorial letter. The editorial letter. And that's what happens when, so first what happens is you write the book and then you have a meeting with an editor who's like interested at the publisher in like working with you. And then they say, oh, it's a nice thing to tell you everything that's so great about your book because they want you to work with them. And they tell you like a couple of things that like, you know, like here's some things, like of course it's not like, I would have some comments, and then it's great and it's wonderful, and then they send you a 45-page letter after you've agreed to work with them. You've signed the contract, and they're like, all right, everything's bad. So, you're gonna need to write about half another book. You're gonna need like a half a new book. You're gonna have to throw about 25% of this right in the garbage. This character's trash. They're bad. They shouldn't exist. Take them out. This one, no. Maya is lovely. You're friends with Maya? I have a friend in the front here who has very strong opinions about my editor. She has very strong feelings. She's very supportive. Oh, the character. Sorry, my editor. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Okay, now I get it. That is confusing. My editor's name, by coincidence, is also Maya, in addition to a character in the book. Maya, protect her at all costs. Maya, my editor. So I had heard, that's what I had heard, that it's the word, and I got the editorial letter, and the first few pages are just talking, and then the rest of the 45 pages are on this page, this is broken, on this page, and so I read the whole thing in one sitting, and I thought that it was going to be the worst day of my life. And it wasn't. I was like, she's right about all of this. I'm not saying it's not going to be work, but she's right, and this is going to make it better. And there were two things that I had disagreed with her on, and I wrote and defended myself, and she was like, yeah, sure. But most honestly, I felt like that was such a tremendous gift to have someone who does this professionally tell me what was wrong with stuff, because I'm not. I'm not super tied to anything. I'm a wibbly person. Yeah, and so like I was very into revision, and I actually quite liked it a lot, and I'm very thankful to Maya, and was surprisingly not completely destroyed by that. And then I spent almost all of the Turtles All the Way Down tour in the back of the bus, going through that letter, line by line, fixing things, adding scenes, cutting scenes, and you know, it's a much better book now, because that, like, oh god, it's so much, oh man, you don't even want to know. Lauren, what did you ask about the writing process, just the general writing process? Where you at? Hey, whoa, wow, everybody's clustered. How's it going? Good, jean jacket. Nice. You know, I always feel like jean jacket, you're never quite sure what you're gonna get. So how are, you got good pockets? That's what it's about. Anything that has inside pockets for me is so good. Like, that's just like such a nice movement, being like, boarding passes especially, because like they're just gonna get wrecked anywhere else, because other things are coming in and out of those ones. But like, this is the sacred pocket. Do you have a sacred pocket? Yeah. Sometimes there's one and you don't know about it. You should check. There is one. That's what I said. Wait, what? I'm gonna come over, because something is, you have a sacred pocket, I saw it. Yeah, that's how it works. That's the sacred pocket. Yeah. Okay. She's like, no, I don't have one, see? Is there anything in there right now? No. Here's a pin. I know you're wearing a jean jacket. And I know you like pins because you're wearing a jean jacket. That's how it works. I have to go back to the stage now because I left your question. You asked, is this weird? It's a little weird? Everybody, look at Lauren together. Yeah, I know, right? That's what I'm dealing with every moment. Sorry, what? I did sign up for it, and you didn't, but you did stand up, which no one has done until tonight. I blame Anthony. This is not my fault. You talk to him after the show. All three of you, actually, you should be friends now. Oh, are you literally right next to each other? Oh, this is unacceptable. I obviously should have chosen more diversely. I apologize for only choosing from 2 friend groups when I had 3 questions. Oh, man. Anyway, ask your question. It says, what was the writing process like for you? Did you plan out the whole plot or find it as you went? I gotta tell you, I do not know how to, so both, but like mostly, even when I had a plan, like the action of writing is where the inspiration came from for me. So once is there a baby? I'm sorry everybody on the lower deck here, it's above you. And on those x-ray specs, there's a baby up there. Oh my gosh, that's a little one. Oh man. Any other babies in the house? Babies? Oh, this woman pointed to her husband. I love you guys.
in Lawrence at the University of Kansas. I see that some of you are familiar with my academic work, thank you. But most of you probably know me because, of course, my life has been very, very loosely adapted into a series of feature films, including Transformers, Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers 3, Dark of the Moon, Transformers 4, Age of Extinction, and Transformers 5, The Last Night, which, despite the promise of its title, did not prove to be the last anything, as evidenced by the forthcoming prequel, Bumblebee. I am often asked what I think of these films. They are terrible. My fellow Transformers and I have, in typical Hollywood fashion, been imagined as super capable, buff ubermensch who can transform into any vehicle imaginable, which is ludicrous. As you can see, just your average, middle-aged college professor Bumblebee, who can, if needed, transform into a Kia Sorento. We are not here to discuss why you should never sell your life rights to Michael Bay. We are here to discuss the abiding passion of my professional life, robots. And you can see there a still from the play that gave us the word robot, Rossum's Universal Robots, by the brilliant Czech playwright Karel Čapek. It was written in Thank you. Thank you very much. It was written in 1920. To give you a sense of just how new the word robot is, and the idea of robots are, the standardized English pronunciation robot didn't exist until the late 1960s. Until then, you often heard people say rowboat. No less an authority than Isaac Asimov called them robots. That's true. Everything in this talk is true. But to return to Rossum's Universal Robots, Čapek got the word from a Czech word, robota, which referred to a certain kind of labor that serfs were forced to perform on their master's land. Now, Čapek's robots were a little bit different from contemporary robots. They were made of flesh and blood, and they could be mistaken for humans, but in three important ways they were the same. They were created by humans, they performed labor for humans, and they performed that labor automatically. Now, it does occur to me that sometimes those rules don't apply. For instance, sometimes robots just seem to show up and perform no labor at all. Also, sometimes robots are not seen as coming from humans, but instead as coming from elsewhere. For instance, in the Transformers movies, as you may be aware, I, Bumblebee, am portrayed as a being from an alien planet. This is ludicrous, of course. I am from Overland Park. The son of a hard-working bumblebee in a mid-sized sport utility vehicle. But one thing we do know about robots is that robots cause humans to ask questions about what makes humans human. So not to spoil Rossum's Universal Robots or anything, but in the play, the robots rise up and they win, and humanity is extinguished. I disagree with your woo. Stories are often metaphors for human fears. See not only Rossum's Universal Robots, but also Decepticons, WALL-E, the not Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminators. On the other hand, robots are also metaphors for human hope, a lot of times. See, for instance, WALL-E, my fellow Autobots and I, and of course the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. I don't want to be overly critical of humans, but you are among the most narcissistic beings in the cosmos. Almost anything outside of you is at risk of becoming a metaphor for something inside of you. So why did robots emerge in 1920? Why then? Well, at least in part, because World War I had just ended, the most heavily mechanized war to date, with its machine guns and tanks and airplanes. The very same technologies that had made our lives much better by increasing our food supply, improving our transportation and communication systems, had now also led to millions of deaths. Mechanization, which seemed to be merely good news, turned out to be very complicated. And so Čapek's robots could speak not only to the plight of oppressed people, but also to everyone who was dealing with mechanization. The 1920s and 30s saw the emergence of many new humanoid robots. In Japan, there was Gaku Tensoku. In America, there was Electro. And in England, there was Eric. Eric was a fascinating robot. He was able to stand and bow politely and also sit in front of a cup of tea. So all of the major British actions. But even though he was a relatively innocuous robot, people were terrified of Eric. I just noticed that there's a balcony again. As you can see in this contemporary newspaper account, people thought that Eric was super, super scary. On the other hand, that very same newspaper account ended thusly, with a note of hope that perhaps Eric and his descendants would one day replace humans in the workforce. That turned out to be a bit premature. It wasn't until the 1950s that actually useful robots were invented, and not until 1961 that one was installed in a factory at a General Motors plant. That robot was named Unimate, and it was able to pick up very hot and heavy car parts and move them around, which was great because that work was extremely dangerous for humans. But Unimate and its descendants got really, really good at factory jobs. Like, arguably too good. We often hear that what's driving the decline in US manufacturing employment is primarily that those jobs are going overseas to lower wage countries. But in point of fact, it's mostly robots. In fact, between 1990 and 2016, total US manufacturing output grew by over 70%, while total US manufacturing employment declined by over 30%. So, robots are stealing our jobs. But they're also making our jobs much safer. During that same period, workplace deaths declined by 50%. I agree with that. So, this is my final slide. Sorry, sometimes I get very nervous and I breathe directly into the microphone. There is a great philosopher. His name is Homer Simpson. And he observed that alcohol is the cause of and solution to all of human problems. I think the same can be said of robots, and more generally of the virtualized, artificial intelligence assisted life that we are all leading now. Robots have solved so many human problems, except for all the ones that they cause. Ultimately, our ideas about robots are not really about robots. The robot is a canvas onto which we project our values and our hopes and our fears. And as those robots get more sophisticated, they've ceased to just be projections, and they become embodiments of those hopes and values and fears. That's true now more than ever since the Carls have arrived. What you see when you look at the Carls says so much more about you than it does about them. The Carls remind us that just as reality shapes our beliefs also shape our reality. And so we have to be careful what we believe and what we value, because we will pass it all on to the humans who will come after us, but also to everything else that will come after us. Thank you.
Responsibility for how long my first segment was, which was not intended to be 40 minutes. I decided to load it up, I got very heavy, and then I did a very slow introduction to the show. It was fast. It was fast-paced, but it was longer than usual, so hopefully you guys get out of here on time. I'm gonna play some songs for you. Hi, I felt like I had to say something, and then I'm back before I put my guitar on, because that would also take extra time.
and then it would be silent for way too long. Who can live with silence these days? Alone with our own thoughts. It'd be a disaster. Who knows where we would find podcasts. Okay. I guess this is what I do. What do I want to sing for you? Let's sing. Oh, I have no idea. So were you in the front here, or were you next in the black tank top? What do you want to hear? We're all gonna die. Okay. Sure. This song is about being alive. No matter what you are, there is only one outcome. Well, was scared of the crap. Instead of walking out of her row, she just jumped right over the barrier and I thought she was coming out over that thing. She has to go to the bathroom. I assumed. That's what I figured had happened. Happens to the best of us. Oh, Scout's like, what's happening? Well, every living organism at one time was dust, an assemblage of atoms from our atmosphere and crust. These bits, they come together, but only for a time. From that very first self-replicator oozing from the slime, we exist and then we don't. That's just how we do. And everyone you know someday will also be dead too. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. It's the one true thing on which every living thing can rely. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. It's the one thing you can't live through. There's nothing that you can do. And you and me and us, we're all gonna die. I applaud your attempts at clapping along with my song that changes tempo every 2 bars. A good try. Give it the attempt. Well, many folks will hope that there's a way out of this song. That if we think we'll harden, act ourselves, somehow we'll get along. We'll fix those telomeres, digitize our brains, fix our dying bodies till the remedy's attained. Well, I have some bad news for you. You can't outrun the hearse. The explosion of the sun or heat death of the universe. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. It's the one sure thing on which every living thing can rely. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. The singularity won't save you. There's nothing that we can do, and you and me and us, we're all gonna die. Well, the marvelous truth of it all is that death is such a gift, because the only reason we can die is that we ever live. The improbability of life, and you and me and us, that we existed, all of us sniff and kiss and taste and hear and touch. We've used our minds to make so many awesome things somehow, including all of the words in the song you're listening to right now. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. It's the one sure thing on which every living thing can rely. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. It's the one thing you can't live through. There's nothing that you can do, and you and me and us, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. So have a good time and be nice to each other. So I see you put your name tag. Your name is Ryan. Ryan, do you have a Ryan tattoo? You have a DFTBA tattoo. It's a... What's the... Oh, it's your first tattoo? We've decided that it's not a real rule anymore. It's your body. Do whatever, you know. Put gay pokes all over and have the ink injected inside of your subcutaneous. Like, that's fine. It's not what I'd do, obviously. It just sounds like it hurts and costs money. That's like... I'll pay money for things that don't hurt. All of it. The barbecue, especially. Hey, actually, now that I've said that, it hurt a little bit. It hurts a little bit right now, to be honest with you. I feel like I weigh about 20 extra pounds. I would call out the place that I went to, but I forgot what it was. Paul, are you in here? Hey, I'm Ask Paul. What was it? Oh, you said 2 different things. The first one never made sense to me. It was something about Jack Stack. It was like fancy barbecue. They had like, the waiter was wearing all black, so you know things are good. And then there was like cheesy corn. Oh, why don't they have that everywhere? Have they not told any? Like, you guys are very quiet about your cheesy corn dish. They're like, you have to come to Kansas City to get the cheesy corn. I don't know what was about that, but oh man, I'll put it on anything. From now on, they put it in a box, my friends. That's the future. Sorry, Ryan, did you want any other songs? You're in charge now. I'm not gonna sing a curse word.
Mother cousin Booker!
Oh, you also are name tag that says Ryan, so you are also, okay. I have made the huge mistake of asking sisters to agree on a song that is the next in my set. What was it?
Your songs match my shirt.
They do! That's true. What song did you want to hear? What's it? You just whisper it. Is there another one? Should I play another one first? I can't play that. I didn't ask you, polite person who said whatever I want. You're way too polite. Oh, now everybody has Ryan badges. This isn't fair. It's very confusing. Okay, we'll see what happens. I guess we'll just have to find out, right? Jeez. Can you even imagine? Way back in the past when storms were caused by heavy gods. She was a fellow, but now my way. I was all for a wish, and it's doubts for a kiss. I wasn't looking for this, but now you're in my way. Your hair's ripped, jeans, skin, show, hot night winds. Where do you think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you. This is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys, they try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. You took your time with the call, I took your time with the fall. You gave me nothing at all, but still you're in my way. I beg and borrow this name, half the sight, it's me right here. You out of feeling, but it's in my way. Your parents hold me, ripping jeans, skin show, hot night winds blowing. Where do you think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you. This is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys, they try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad. I missed you so bad. I missed you so bad. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad. You should know that. I missed you so bad. It's hard to look right at you, baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys, they try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. I don't know what it is, but you guys know that song very well. As the most audience participation that one has received, Kansas City, you're big Carly Rae Jepsen fans, which I respect immensely. And now I'd like to welcome to the stage, for the very first time, my brother John Reed.
Thank you. That's very kind. Oh.
bring you all the week's news from both Mars and AFC Wimbledon. John!
Yes.
Oh shoot, I didn't look up at that joke backstage. How do you kill an elephant?
I'm not going down that rabbit hole with you. Tell the Caribbean pie one.
Okay, John.
Yes.
I was recently in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And John,
Yeah.
I was recently in Jamaica,
Yeah.
and they charged me $2.50 for an apple pie, and then I went to the Cayman Islands, and they charged me only $2. These are the pie rates of the Caribbean.
That was not a good performance of what is not a good joke.
I've done better.
My opening bit is that I usually share some good news. The barbecue here is great. It's pandering, guys. It's like if Dr. Bunkley said he was from Overland Park. It's blatant pandering. I saw Dr. Bunkley backstage, by the way. He really got overheated. Got to transform into a Kia Sorento. It's got a better, it's got a great cooling system. So anyway, the good news, there's lots of good news in the world. Child mortality declined today for like the 4,000th consecutive day. You never hear that in the news, but it is always true. Like, it'd be nice if every day they were like, child mortality declined again.
Yeah, I see a lot of graphs on the news, but never that one.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Things that happen slowly are literally not new.
That's the problem we have with also that's the problem I have with news, that like the moment something happens is the moment I know the least about it.
Right, but it's also the moment I want to know the most about it, so I turn on the television and I listen to other people who don't yet know much about it speculate, and I'm like, I'm learning. I'm finding out what caused that plane crash or whatever, etc. etc.
But no
Let's
one
answer the questions from our listeners. This first one comes from Cassandra, who asks, do you think a person's name influences who they become?
Ooh.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Alfred Bumbly, for instance. Cassandra, one time...
So are you saying that Alfred Bumbly was like born and then he became a bumblebee? I don't really understand how Transformers work. I think that maybe Michael Bay needs to make like a low-budget indie Transformers movie where we just learn about like sort of the functional like maybe 50 years in the future when Transformers are just sort of integrating in society.
Right.
And just trying to make it in their desk jobs.
I've been thinking a lot about like what is so ludicrous about the Transformers lore, and I think what it is to me is the idea that these aliens transform into human vehicles. They're in a different world, and they're like, oh God, thank God I can transform into a semi-truck in this world with no oxygen or roads.
So I think, basically, in closing, Optimus Prime was destined to become the leader of the Transformers. They named him Optimus Prime.
So sometimes, but you don't want to take too much stock in a name, Cassandra. That's the only thing I'd say. You don't want to judge somebody too much based on their name. Also, thank you for coming to this show from Canada.
Cassandra, are you worried about that because of the mythical Cassandra who no one believes, despite the fact that you are able to predict the future very accurately?
Oh, hey, we have a deal that we don't do crowd work when I'm on stage because it makes me uncomfortable and I don't like it, so what's the next question? You've done enough.
I probably should have rated it anyway. This next one comes from Double Trouble, Kathleen's in Trouble. Who asked, my name is Kathleen Elizabeth, and my best friend is also named Kathleen Elizabeth. How do we decide which one is superior?
I mean...
Feats of physical strength. Joust.
Yeah. Right, it's
That's how they used to do it, jousting.
Yeah, it's like...
Get a big long stick and two horses, two long sticks, then only one Kathleen has a stick. That's not fair.
that's not jousting, that's murder.
It's the
It's a
jacket.
fine line.
Yeah. So, do you guys have sticks and horses? Where are you? No crap.
No! This next question comes from Mackenzie. We have to move on immediately. Dear Hank and John, my name is Mackenzie. I'm only asking questions about names today. People often spell my name wrong, adding or subtracting or capitalizing letters. What? Oh, I see. This only bothers me when, for instance, my email signature is right there for them to reference. Am I allowed to add or subtract or randomly capitalize letters of their name in response? No, that's too passive aggressive.
What's the less passive aggressive way of getting that point across?
You just write when you write the email. The first line of your response is, "My name is Mackenzie," and then you curse. You call them a bad word.
Or what if your email signature, instead of just like the text, you do like a picture, and it's just your name, very big.
Yeah, I like it. There's a guy who lives in our neighborhood who's been misspelling Sarah's name in emails to Sarah for now like 8 years. And there's just nothing, I mean, at this point...
Does he think her name is Sarah, though?
Yeah, but with no H.
Oh.
I mean, that's easy for a Hank to say.
It's just...
You don't know what it's like.
It's true. It's not an easy one to misspell.
No. Well, let's move on to another question. I think we answered it.
We got it.
Jousting.
Jousting.
You write your name in bigger letters, Mackenzie. It's your fault that people are misspelling your name. According to Hank.
This is from Caroline and Anna. They ask, "Dear Hank and John, on our drive here, we decided that we were going to abandon our academics and open a speakeasy bar. Not like a speakeasy themed bar, but an actual speakeasy that requires a secret password and such. How do we preserve the integrity of the speakeasy in the time of social media when a stranger may leak our location with a map or expose us to the now non-existent prohibition law enforcement?" Glad you're
I think that's one of the biggest problems with your idea.
Yeah. Sorry, what?
I said I don't think that's the biggest problem with their idea. Like the risk of marketing. Like what happens if people find out about our bar? We might have to sell them goods and services in exchange for money.
Sometimes you have an idea, and then you work on it for years, and then you realize that it's not workable, and then you've spent a lot of your life and a lot of money on the idea, and sometimes you have an idea and you poke holes in it real quick, and you're like, that's not a good one. And I think you're in camp number 2, and if you end up in camp number 1, this is gonna be not the best end. You should probably go to school.
Yeah, it's time you gotta go back to college, man. I like the idea of the speakeasy, but I think you should lean into people finding out the password. This next question comes from Jackie, who writes, "I have a teenage daughter!" Exclamation point. That is a challenge. I have a 5-year-old daughter who desperately wants to be a teenager. She's always playing teenagers, and like her ideas about teenagers are so fascinating, like the things that she thinks teenagers talk about, you know? I don't know what teenagers actually talk about, but they're not like Alice. Like Alice's idea of teenagers is they're like, and now, she literally says like teenager, and now teenager, we're going to learn writing. And I don't know, maybe that is what high school is like now. Maybe like you sit down and they're like, "Hello, teenagers."
Learn writing.
I don't know how to parent a teenager. I don't even know how to parent my own kids.
Is there a question?
That was the question. I have a teenage daughter. Help! Exclamation point.
Oh, help. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I have nothing. I'm terrified of the moment, the thing that I'm most afraid of in like the near term of being a dad is Oren saying to me, "I don't love you, Daddy."
Oh, that's not even a big deal. I get that all the time. Yeah, you just don't, it just rolls right off.
Because what I'm looking most forward to is him saying, "I love you, Daddy."
Yeah, that rolls off pretty fast. Here's the thing about having little kids, like their problems are difficult and exhausting, but you can solve them. And when you have teenagers, you can't solve their problems, and a lot of times you just have to like sit with them, and that hurt, and that's really hard. It's really hard to sit with people in their pain, but I think that's all we can do when people are in pain in the end, is meet them where they are.
John. Katie, Hannah, and Sarah asked, "Dear Hank and John, how would you defend yourself against a pack of flamingos if they cornered you in a dark alley?"
I mean, why would you assume that they mean you harm?
Yeah, maybe it's time for, like, you know what flamingos mostly do in dark alleys? This is a known scientific fact. They do, like, fun dance parties. Yeah, they have flamingo DJs and the flamingo core music. Has anybody heard of flamingo core?
What does that sound like? Yeah. Oh no, don't describe it. Don't tell, show.
It's good writing advice, John. It's sort of like,
No, that's enough. That's good, we got it.
you gonna keep going?
No.
You asked. If the flamingos definitely wish me harm, I think probably the strategy, like, they look pretty precarious as birds, so just like run straight at them and like don't think you're gonna hit. Like, you're not gonna fight the flamingos, you're just going to blow through the flamingos. It says that it's a pack, which to me is like 5-10 flamingos. That's doable.
This next question comes from Jessica, who writes, "What items are on your tour writer?" Well, it is a little weird. So the real reason you put things on your tour writer, just so people know this, like the reason like green M&Ms are on people's tour writers or whatever has nothing to do with wanting green M&Ms and everything to do with like wanting to know if there are going to be a bunch of disasters. Because like if you show up and there are no green M&Ms, you also know that there are many other things that are wrong. So the only thing that's on our tour writer is Diet Dr. Pepper.
That's not true. There's Diet Dr. Pepper.
It's Diet Dr. Pepper or Coke Zero, although I have to say this bookstore very generously got me both Diet Dr. Pepper and Coke Zero.
And then for me, there's water and turkey sandwiches.
Yep, water and turkey sandwiches.
And someone recently asked me, like, what's the logic behind the turkey sandwiches? And I'm like, I like turkey sandwiches a lot. And they're like, you're gonna have that every night for 12 days? And I was like, yeah, if it's gonna be one thing every night for 12 days, turkey sandwich, I literally do that at home.
Yeah. I eat a turkey sandwich most days.
Sorry, turkeys. Maybe that's why the flamingos are so mad. Wait, what?
Oh, sorry, Hank, I have a breaking question that we have to get to immediately. I know it's your turn, but this is important.
Okay.
It's from Sarah. She writes, "Dear John and Hank, how do I meet Guy Fieri?"
I mean, you could start hanging out in diners, drive-ins, dives.
That's your best strategy, probably.
You could.
I was thinking you could go to like hair salons where they do like one thing really well.
Really,
they frost.
I mean, yeah, that's actually a great. Somebody must know who Guy Fieri's hairdresser is. Because that's probably, there's probably somebody wrote a profile on that. You go every day to get your tips done, and eventually you meet Guy Fieri, probably. Or you become Guy Fieri's hairdresser. Or, I do know that there is a lot of research going on Guy Fieri's, and most of them have trackers. They need to know where they are. It's like
I really like the idea of going to cosmetology school for the purpose of becoming Guy Fieri's hairdresser.
I have a dream. I have one thing that I want in life, and I'm going to achieve it. It's good to have very specific dreams because then you almost definitely will fail.
Like, I want to style the hair of famous people. That is possible.
Yeah.
But like, I want to style the hair. I mean, although on the other hand, like if you meet Guy Fieri at like a book signing, which by the way is the actual way to meet Guy Fieri, he writes books. You go to his book signings. You go to Guy Fieri's book signing and you're like, I have a dream.
Yeah, that's gonna work totally.
It's gonna go one of two ways. You're either like leaving escorted by security, or you're Guy Fieri's hairdresser.
I like that we've gone from the fairly general dream of meeting Guy Fieri to this. It's like, now once you've met Guy Fieri, you've made a plan for how to then be a permanent part of his life.
It occurs to me the idea that we haven't had is that you could work in food.
Like, just like make very big hamburgers.
Like, you could work in one of his, I think he has several restaurants.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna call this outside of my areas of expertise.
I think we're at the end of the road.
This bit?
Yeah.
Jesse asks, hey John, what do you think about BookTube?
I mean, I love BookTube.
So there's a section of YouTube. It's a community of YouTubers. It's called the BookTubers, BookTube section of YouTube, and it is amazing. They review books, they talk about books, they hang out with each other, they make great stuff, and I'm so happy that it exists. And it's such a great community of people.
Yeah, and also in a world where you don't necessarily have it can be so difficult to get the word out about a book, like unless you have a huge built-in audience. That's something that BookTube does really well, is discover work, share work, get people excited about books, which is much needed these days.
Is Jesse, are you Jesse the Reader, the BookTuber? Hi! Follow Jesse. We're not doing crowd work.
Yep.
Jesse the Reader.
Thank you, Jesse. This next question comes from Mo, who writes, I have an internal cardiac defibrillator, and I say that I am 100% dependent on the pacemaker. What percent robot am I? I say 10%, but I've been told I'm wrong.
I mean, I think if you're 10% robot, so am I. I am very dependent upon machines.
Yeah, I am so robot dependent, Mo. Maybe not to the scale that you're robot dependent, but if I don't have Google Maps on any given day, I will die of exposure. I do not know how to get from my home to Target. The other day my phone died, and I was driving to the dentist's office, which I visited 500 million times.
He's got bad teeth.
I had no idea how to get to the dentist's office, and I was like, oh, I can call Sarah. No, I can't call Sarah. And then I just stopped. I just pulled into an office building, and I was like, what the hell do I do? So I walked into the office building, and I said, does anyone have a phone I can borrow? I need to write down the directions to the dentist's office.
Yeah, we are all inhabited by our creations.
Yeah, Hank and I have been talking recently about how we used to worry about becoming cyborgs and when are humans going to become. It happened. We're already cyborgs. We are deeply. I have no idea how old Patrick Stewart is until I Google it, and then I know, and that's how I know that I'm a cyborg.
He's 78. I guess we planned it. That was great. All right, then we got time for one more question, John.
Sure, yeah. What is it?
Okay. This question comes from Brooke. My question is a request for a pardon. Wait.
Yeah, you already did that. You already pardoned the DFTBA tattoo.
Oh,
great.
I did do that.
What's the next question?
Ryan,
no crowd work. I got one, you know.
Okay. Good me.
What?
Oh, well, okay. Kaylee asks, do you play Fortnite together?
No. I didn't
It
even
would
know
not be
until-
fun to play Fortnite with John. This is like, can you fit 2 people in this bush?
Kaylee, until I read your question, I did not know that you could play Fortnite with other people. So thank you for that breaking news story that Fortnite is apparently a team game. I am excited to learn more. Never, because it's a bit that I'm going to continue the bit until I win.
It is so frustrating to watch you play Fortnite.
It's fun. I don't know if you guys know anything about Fortnite, but I play as a pacifist and I just run to a bush and then I squat in the bush and then I wait. It's a great game. Hey, we have to get to the all-important news from Mars and AFC Wimbledon. Why don't you go first?
The news from Mars, NASA recently flew over the Opportunity rover with one of its orbiters around Mars and took the opportunity to take a picture and took a picture of Opportunity, which has been on Mars for 14 years, but recently was deprived of sunlight by a dust storm for like more than a month, and it has not turned back on yet. And they took a picture of it, and now we know that it's still there. So it exists.
I love how you said it hasn't turned back on yet.
Well, it hasn't turned back on yet. That's grammatically correct.
That will always be true. It's dead. It died. I'm sorry.
We're just gonna wait for a little longer before we call it. Are any of the players from AFC Wimbledon dead? Just tossing this word around.
No. No, but Hank and I Hank and I actually watched an AFC Wimbledon game together on my phone.
It was tense. They were bad. I'm not saying they're always bad, but that was...
It was very bad. It was 30 very stressful minutes. And I will say, like, obviously turning your planes onto airplane mode the moment that the flight attendant says so, but as it happens, the game ended right, like we were at about, I would say, 400 feet off the ground is when the final whistle was blown, which is just perfect timing for us. And despite the fact that for the last 45 minutes of the game, AFC Wimbledon played epically terribly, Oxford United played just a little bit worse, and Wimbledon won 2-1. Wimbledon scored 2 goals, one from Scott Wagstaff, one from Joe Piggott, who has really leaned into the pig part of his surname. His Twitter handle is Piggy35. And now when he scores goals, Wimbledon fans sing, "Feed the pig, feed the pig, feed the pig," and he will score. And he did. Indeed, he scored from a header that was fed to him. So, feed the pig, I guess. So yeah, Wimbledon won, thank God. We're up to 16th.
Keep it up, boys. John, thank you for making the podcast with me today. It's a pleasure. Thank you all for listening. As they say in our hometown, don't forget to be awesome. And so if you are interested in being on the stage and co-hosting a trivia challenge right now, raise a hand. This is the first hand I saw was you here in the,
You'll never guess whose idea this is.
It's letters from Harry Potter. Come on up.
All right.
Stairs are here.
Hi.
Take this microphone, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Emily. It's also my 20th birthday, by the way.
Oh, don't cry. It's okay to cry. It's fine. Happy birthday, though. Thanks for spending your birthday with us. We really appreciate it.
So a thing that we're going to do right now is I'm going
want to give you a Trivial Pursuit card.
Hello? Oh, good.
And John and I are going to put on these masks that I bought at a drugstore in New York City. They're silky and pink. My glasses there. And I'm going to be blind now. And I can't see. And I'm going to grab one of these baseball bats. And John, where did you got your... What? Yeah, great. I won't fall off straight. And here, and then John...
Are you holding left hands or right hands?
Left hands.
Okay. I just want to, before we do the bit, I just want to say that this is a metaphor. I only agreed to do it because it is a metaphor, but it won't be explained until after the bit. But I don't want you to think that I'm the kind of person who just agreed to this bit, okay?
And so, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Emily.
Emily.
It's her birthday, man.
Oh, thanks. I also had forgotten that. It's just a testament to how my current state.
Yeah.
So Emily is going to read us questions from the Trivial Pursuit card, and if one of us gets one wrong, the other brother gets to hit the brother that's got it wrong in the head with the baseball bat, and that's the game.
That's the game. Emily, the first question, the blue question, is for me.
What? That means I get the sports question at the end.
I know, that's why I said the first question.
Okay. Which state in its entirety was listed as one of America's most endangered historic places?
Ooh.
Which state in its entirety was listed as one of America's most endangered historical places?
Yes.
1 in 50, brother.
Rhode Island.
That is incorrect.
God!
You might think just because it's so small, I guess.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
What is it?
Vermont.
Vermont!
Oh, it's right next door, maybe. I don't really know.
Backed by the National Trust for Historic Preservation.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks, National Trust, for being so pro-Vermont and anti-every other state, apparently.
What is Hank's first question?
I hope you know Disney. Which Grammy-winning pop star first hit was a song on the Mulan soundtrack?
Did you say, I hope you know Disney? Because that's a hint.
This is Mulan in the question.
Oh, right. That is an excellent point. That's a Disney movie. I knew that.
Who is it, Hank?
That was when I was in it was just before early college or
Yeah.
maybe high school, so someone from the 90s or early 2000s.
Like Blink-182.
I would watch that movie.
Outcast.
Yeah, definitely one of those too. I'm just gonna go ahead and say Britney Spears. That's not right. Okay, it's Christina Aguilera, apparently. Hit me with a freaking bat.
Yes.
It is. Well done, person in the front.
Thanks for not spoiling it. I appreciate that. Emily, what is my next question?
Which forward-thinking Russian ruler taxed any citizen with a beard because being clean-shaven was all the rage in Europe in 1698?
Which Russian what?
Russian ruler taxed any citizen with a beard.
Taxed any
Tax any
citizen.
citizen with a beard. I'm going to say Peter the Great.
That is correct.
I legitimately knew that. He was obsessed with trying to Europeanize Russia. But what's Hank's next question?
Oh my God.
I mean, I taught AP World History on the internet.
I guess. Yeah, I didn't do that.
What's the next question?
Which trio of countries, all starting with the same letter, does Elizabeth Gilbert journey to in her memoir, Eat, Pray, Love?
Oh my God.
Remember, they all start with the same letter.
Which letter?
I'll tell you.
What?
F.
That is incorrect.
That is.
What? Die.
Why did you say F?
My head was not right.
It's I, so I got the letter, it's I?
Yes.
Okay. Countries that start with I are India. Is India one?
Yes.
Hey! Indonesia is another
Yes.
I. Oh my God. And, God, it's probably not Iran. You just gave me a huge hint because it's Italy.
Oh. All right, Emily, what is my last
Which innovative Apple mobile product, named after a 17th century scientist, predated the iPod by a decade?
Newton?
That is correct.
What is Hank's last question?
Which Sanskrit word means a yoga pose or posture?
A yoga pose? A Sanskrit word that means a yoga pose?
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not sports. At least it's apparently leisure, because that's what that category is. Well, what it was when I was a kid anyway. A yoga pose. I have nothing. I got nothing. No, I know no what can't even language.
Emily, what is the answer?
Asana? Asana.
I think that's it, John.
Oh, yeah, we're done.
Sounds like a sign there should be a pursuit car. I'm gonna find my glasses. Oh, good. Why can't
Can we sing happy birthday?
What's the oh, we're gonna get there. John,
That's it for me, guys. Goodbye.
I mean, they don't make them like they used to. That thing is. Oh, thanks. It's amazing, like, clarity of voice in that situation. So, you laugh at me? Pants were falling down. I need to look good up here, so I'm just yanking on the belt. So, what the heck was this? I was attempting to do a thing tonight, and that thing was to create, over the last hour and a half or so, maybe a little longer than that because I'm a little loose tonight. It's the barbecue, I promise. I wanted to create like a little microcosm of the social internet in a physical space. What do I mean by that? So we had some music at the beginning, some of which was popularized by or created by the social internet. We had some viral videos, an advice podcast. We had some silliness. And we had people blindfolded, forced to hold hands, hitting each other with baseball bats for being wrong about something that might not matter, which is basically Twitter. Also, just like the internet, this conversation was two-way. Instead of how TV and movies used to work, things were different this evening because of the audience. More this evening than this. But there is one big way in which this can never be like the internet. I can see you, and you can see me, and you can see each other. Maybe you checked Instagram a couple of times, but for the most part, we were here together doing one thing, focused on one thing for a pretty long time. And I mean, who can blame you for checking Twitter at a time when you never know? One fresh horror is waiting for us the moment we boot back up, and maybe that is in some part a function of 2018, but maybe it's in some part just a function of the way that these platforms have made us think. But there is But we had this experience together. My friend George Watsky once said an obvious thing to me that actually really affected me, despite the fact that it's very obvious. At an event like this, the people who attend it will never be together again. Like, even if we tried every day for a year, we couldn't get this exact group of people together. So this is the only gathering that we will ever have. But here's this thing, that is also true of Facebook and of Twitter and of YouTube. Those places are gatherings of people. And that group of people in any given instant, because there are so many of them coming in and out at any given time, is unique at like every instant. It's a giant room with millions of people simultaneously arguing, creating, laughing, sharing, mutating culture. But somehow it doesn't seem that way. It seems like both an infinite number of people, weirdly, also no people. When I see a tweet, I don't see the human behind the tweet, even if I know that person personally. Like, I don't imagine them in their physical space, spending time creating that thought, whether they're on the bus or not spending enough time interacting with the physical people in their real lives, or whether they're on the toilet. That last is probably okay. But I don't imagine that. In that moment of cognitive immersion, I just see the thought as disconnected from any humanity from that person. And I started to wonder if that's a limitation of the platform, or if that is part of what makes it work. Is it a feature or is it a bug? Because I think it's a feature. I think that it's why it works. I think that if we imagined the room as an actual room full of people, as a space like this, we would be orders of magnitude more careful with each other. We would recognize that getting retweeted is different from doing a good thing, and getting a like is different from being liked. But we don't want that. The platforms certainly don't anyway. They want to lower the barriers to creation. And I've always been a fan of that. I've always been super this is what I want out of the internet. It allows for all of us to make stuff and to participate in the conversation in a way that was never possible before. I have always been a champion of the lowering of barriers to creation, but these platforms so want there to always be something new when you pull down, when you keep scrolling. They want that to be always there, that their goal is to lower the barrier of creation so far that there's basically nothing between a thought and that thought being public. And to the point where I think sometimes we create when we should not be creating, when we should just be thinking, or when we should be sharing that with just the people around us in our physical spaces, where we engage when we should just be having a moment of thought to ourselves. And I wrote this book, hey, thanks. And I wrote this book because I needed, I had things that I was afraid of, and things that I knew, and things that I needed to share that I couldn't figure out ways to share without April's help. For the first 10 years of me being on the internet, I believed unquestioningly in its power to do good without ever thinking much about its potential power to do bad. And when people brought up their concerns about that, I got pretty defensive about it. And when I started to actually internalize those concerns and see maybe there is some truth there, it hit me in the self-worth, because I had tied a lot of my identity to the internet, and I had spent a lot of time talking it up and talking about the good that it could and would do. I had built communities there, I defended it and promoted it, and I brought people onto it. And if it was a bad, then I had spent a lot of my time and energy doing a bad. And that was a scary thought that I didn't really want to look directly at. And simultaneously, I was watching as a lot of my friends were being negatively impacted by notoriety and fame. People burned out, they got depressed, they isolated themselves, they got suspicious of other people, or they used their power in bad ways. And I took a look at my own life, which had its share of 80-hour work weeks, and I started to wonder if maybe the internet wasn't just bad for culture, maybe it was bad for me as an individual. And that's the kind of overcorrection that I think people are prone to sometimes. Where my reaction to, whoa, maybe the internet isn't all good, was, oh, the internet is all bad. But I don't think that's where we are. And I think I needed a book's worth of time to come to terms with that and help me process that. And I think I still need more time to process that and to think about it, which is good news for anybody who's looking for a sequel to this. Because I think we do have a big problem as a culture. And I think that problem is the internet, but it is also not the internet. We have a tool, an extremely powerful tool, that we don't quite know how to use yet. The invention of the printing press and the subsequent revolution in communication it contributed to, was a part of the contributing factors to multiple wars. Martin Luther didn't nail his complaints to one church door, he had them printed and shared across Europe, sometimes illicitly and illegally, and those words fundamentally shifted human history. Gutenberg did not predict that. He didn't know he was doing that. He was just a very weird alchemist who thought, oh, I can put together a bunch of the different things that I know and make this thing better. We did a History of Science episode on it. It was very surprising. Understand, I don't think, the role that technology was going to play in a communications revolution, because there hadn't been a communications revolution since the invention of the written word. And it took a long time to go from the printing press to the invention of journalistic ethics. We're now in a world that contains a technology that we don't have the correct norms for. And that's a dangerous moment. And success in this moment, I think, relies on people understanding that the internet isn't something that is happening to us, it's something that we're doing. And the internet is made out of people. So this work has to be done person to person, one community at a time. But it begins by realizing that the internet is a place and that we are its citizens. And that in the same way that this town and this state and this country is nothing but people, the internet would just be a bunch of hard drives if it weren't for us on it. And so we have to be citizens of that space. And a very good step for me has been to be more of a citizen of the physical spaces I inhabit, to understand my neighborhoods, to do things, to meet people in my place, to be present and aware of my community, to be active and to vote. And then apply that civic perspective to non-physical spaces I inhabit as well. I think we also can trick ourselves into thinking that we are at the very beginning, that's the opposite of what I wanted to say. I think we can also trick ourselves into thinking that we are, like, that this is old and done with, like it's happened, and like now we are in now, and like it's done, and here we are. But we are at the very beginning of all of this. And who decides what it's going to be is ultimately us. A lot of the time we won't even know when we're doing that, but I think that we have to start thinking about it more, and I want to thank you for doing that thinking with me. So basically, in closing, the internet is good and it is also bad, and while my book dives into some of the parts that are bad, it's also about how amazing and unreal this moment in history is and how lucky we are all to be in it as opposed to some other moments. So I wanted to make a silly evening with my brother to celebrate that, and also with you, because the internet is good and also bad, but as far as I can tell, you are all very good. So thank you very much. And now, I'm going to bring John out one more time.
Emily, I got you a birthday present. It's a life-size bumblebee costume. I just found it in the back. What? Yeah, no, that is your life-size bumblebee costume. On to Indianapolis. Mostly because it's your birthday.
I really hope Emily didn't fly here. I gotta check a bag.
If you did so,
It's just a giant cardboard box with a life-size bumblebee costume in it.
yeah, we want to say a huge thank you to Rainy Day Books for hosting this amazing event tonight. They've been in business for more than 40 years. You guys are so lucky to have such an extraordinary independent bookstore here. So please support them. Thank you for supporting them tonight. Also, a huge thank you to Unity Temple and everybody here running the sound and dealing with our 72 mics, despite the fact that we only have 2 people. Thank you. And a huge thank you to all of you for making us feel so welcome here and for welcoming Hank's book into the world. It's been it's just been really wonderful to spend this evening with you. So thank you. And we're gonna sing, mostly Hank is gonna sing one last song. This is a song by one of our favorite bands, the Mountain Goats. It's about every year, but it's really, really about this year.